My name is Giovanni Lugo with Stallion Capital, and in this video, I want to go over how any HVAC business can qualify for 0% funding and not the normal way that HVAC companies actually do get funding, which is usually very, very difficult. So overall, I want to tell you a little bit about Stallion Capital real quick. So we have an expertise of working in the HVAC industry for funding. We've also have a track record of multiple clients, hundreds of clients that we've worked with to help them get funding, specifically in the HVAC and home-based business industry. So that's a little bit about us. To kind of get into it, so the HVAC industry, the biggest funding challenges are, first of all, the seasonal revenue fluctuations that affect cash flow. That's another reason why banks don't usually approve you, is because of the fluctuation is so intense when it comes to seasonality. The other thing is the high equipment and fleet acquisition costs. So it definitely costs a lot to hire a technician, as well as being able to get a truck and also add trucks more to your fleet, so that way you can expand your business. The other thing is the customer financing expectations and competitive pressures, and then also growth limitations without adequate capital. Obviously, you can't scale your business if you don't have enough capital to be able to put into the business to get, for marketing or for equipment or more technicians, trucks, etc. So those are usually the biggest challenge when it comes to being able to fund HVAC companies. So the other thing is, so the zero to low interest funding advantage. So basically, you get a significant interest savings compared to traditional loans, as well as competitive advantage in the equipment and operations, as well as strategic growth acceleration opportunities. So you'll be able to scale a lot faster than you normally would with other loans. The other thing is, improved cash flow management, so that way you can manage your cash flow going in and out of the business while leveraging 0% and low interest credit cards. And then diving into it, so basically when it comes to qualifying for 0% or low interest credit cards, the biggest thing is your overall personal credit score. So your personal credit score is basically has a couple different functionalities that you need to pay attention to. The main one is your actual credit score. So usually you want to have a 720 or above. That's usually ideal. Obviously, the higher the better. The other thing is your utilization rate, which you should have under 5%. And as well as your payment history. So you usually want that to be 100%. If you do have a couple missed late payments, that's actually okay. We'll actually take care of that for you if you work with us. But we do recommend that you basically get those removed before you go through a funding round. Usually it'll increase your approval rate by a lot. So those are basically the common challenges when it comes to HVAC owners and being able to have the right credit score to go ahead and apply to get funding. The other side of that is the business credit profile development. So establishing the credit files with major bureaus, build strong trade references such as trade lines on your credit report for your business, and then also vendor credit relationship strategies as well, having like banking relationships and things like that. The other part of it is you have the personal credit score and making sure that's all aligned. The other thing is you want to have the right business set up as far as the business that you're going to get funding for. Right. So there's different things that you can do as far as the age of corporations and things like that. So there is a way, actually, if you have a good personal credit score, you can actually get funding with a brand new business. So usually with startups is 0 to 6 months, is usually the threshold for new businesses in the bank's eyes. So that's actually a way that you can actually get funding if all of those things are in alignment, as far as like your personal credit, you have 100% payment, payment history, utilization is usually under 5%. They'll fund you right off the bat as soon as you start a new business. As far as the next stage, so there's the early stage still of 6 to 24 months, which is basically 6 months to 2 years. And the bank still considers that a new business. And then established businesses they see after 2 years, so 2+ years. And then obviously the more years on, the more strength you have on your end as far as what the banks see as, kind of being able to pay that loan back and pay those credit cards back that they're going to be giving you. So that's it for that. The documentation needed to verify business longevity. So that's just some documentation that you need as far as like make sure that all of your LLC or your S Corp or your C Corp is all set up correctly and you have the right documentation. And then also industry specific adjustments for HVAC companies. So we do fill out applications a certain way to make sure that we do get the appropriate funding for your business to make sure that your business looks the best when it comes to going and applying to banks. Then diving into the next section. So the normal qualifications for HVAC owners when they try to get funding is they usually ask for revenue requirements. So they usually ask you for, a couple of years of tax returns, what's your cash flow to debt ratio, things like that. So those are usually other things, as well as other documents, P&Ls, bank statements. So those are usually when you go and get funding for HVAC companies, those are the documents they usually want from you. But the way we actually do funding for HVAC businesses, you actually don't need any of that, which is fantastic. And it's basically a way that, if you're starting a new business or you're early on, or, you're doing okay, and even if you can provide those, that's great, but we won't personally need them. But if we want to get more funding, we can always leverage those to our advantage when it comes to getting higher limits overall. So when we work with banking relationship managers, we can always send them those docs. If you have them, if you don't, that's completely okay. That's why we created this, so that way, new startups or people are just looking to expand without using any documentation can absolutely do that as long as they follow this formula. And so basically, so going into the prepping process before you go to apply. So the initial thing is we want to make sure that your entire credit profile looks good before you even apply. Then we want to make sure that your business structure analysis is good and lined up. As far as the type of entity that you have, do you have your Dun & Bradstreet number set up for your business, other things like that. And then also, what are your funding needs why are you getting funding? What is the purpose of it? Are you looking to get another technician? Are you looking to get another truck? Are you looking for more marketing, things like that? And then also the other thing is you want to have a custom roadmap built out for yourself. And what does that mean exactly? So basically, you first want to make sure that your credit is in line. Then you want to make sure your business is set up, structured correctly. And then after that, you want to be able to apply to all the right banks in the right orders. Okay. And then obviously, after you get all of that funding, you want to make sure that you utilize that funding in the right areas of your business. You don't want to be spending in places that you don't need to be spending. You want to make sure that when you get the capital, you know exactly where to put it to expand and grow the business. Okay. So kind of getting a little bit deeper into that and what all of those different things mean, I'm going to break that down here. So the credit repair and enhancement. So basically, you want to focus on, your personal credit overall. Comprehensive credit analysis methodology. So basically what we do specifically is we go through your entire credit report and make sure that we see nothing that's inaccurate as far as addresses, make sure that you have little to no inquiries, things like that. We dispute any resolution processes for inaccuracies, and then strategic debt management and pay down strategy. So if you need to basically pay down a certain, amount of credit cards to get your utilization down, that's something that you definitely want to focus on before you even go to get funding, and that'll also increase your credit score overall. And then the other thing is basically building positive credit strategies and making sure that those align with your overall goals and the amount of funding that you actually want to get. Okay, and then the business credit development. So the business credit file establishment, credit building progress plan, and then score improvement tactics, and then monitoring and maintenance systems. So making sure that as you start to apply for different credit cards, you want to make sure that you're keeping track of all those, what order you basically applied, and then also what bureaus that those actually pulled from, and then make sure that when you start to pull all of the inquiries after you apply, you want to make sure that you do that very quickly. Okay. And then going into the business structure optimization, so entity selection and formation. So the HVAC optimal entity structure is usually LLC or an S corp. So formation process and documentation. Obviously, you want to make sure that you have all your ducks in a row as far as the documentation that you do have. If you don't have any, that's okay. And then the legal compliance requirements. So just make sure any legal stuff that you need, that you have all of that compliant, operational agreements, things like that. And then going into basically other things like the business personal separation, okay, the physical address and communication requirements, banking relationship development. So obviously keeping relationship banking with bankers, and then online presence establishment. So making sure that you have a website that's super, super important when it comes to funding, because they will look and see if your business is actually live and running. And if it's actually something that's functional and the website works and things like that. So it gives you a lot more boost when it comes to any manual processes that they have to do. And some of the processes are actually where they can actually scan the website to make sure that it does work properly and it is a truly established business. Okay. The other thing is, so the business credit building system. So there's a basically vendor credit development strategy. So what does that mean? That basically means that you can basically build your business credit, and that's with the Dun & Bradstreet number that you can get for your business. You can go and you can just go ahead and Google Dun & Bradstreet number, and basically you can just ask for a free DUNS number. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. and then you'll assign that number to your business, and that's kind of where you'll start building your business credit for your actual business. And what that basically means is you have personal credit, and then you have your business credit. So your business credit is we can actually build and start to get loans eventually after, which basically means no PG, which means no personal guarantee. So these other credit cards you're going to be getting, there is a personal guarantee on them. But when you're doing business credit, like your DUNS number, and you're getting trade lines and it's all under your business name, you get like net 30 accounts and things like that. But we go through that in other videos. So that basically is where you'll be able to get funding, which is what they call a no PG, which is no personal guarantee. And basically all of the debt is under your business. Okay. So there's a couple of different ways to kind of get that going. And you can add trade lines, which is basically just credit lines that you can add to your, that you can actually purchase and actually add those to your business report, so you can start building some business credit as you kind of go through your process of building your own, building your business and building its credit along with it. Okay. And then going into the 0% funding options. So here is a couple good credit cards that you can get right off the bat. These are usually part of our beginner sequence as far as our first round. So American Express, Blue Business Plus, Chasing Business Cash, Capital One Spark Cash Select, and then the U.S. Bank Business Platinum. So those are some of the first cards that we go for. We do go for them in a certain order. We usually go for Chase cards first, specifically for HVAC businesses. Those usually Chase has what's called a 524 rule, where basically you can only can have you can only apply for 5 cards within 24 months. So you want to hit Chase first because they usually give really, really high limits, and they're also a really good bank to have kind of in your arsenal. Okay. And then the other thing is the strategic application techniques. So basically the credit inquiry management. So once you do that first round of funding that we were talking about, you want to make sure that we go ahead and remove all of those inquiries that you just applied for. So that way the bank doesn't look at, if you have a bunch of inquiries and the bank knows that you're looking for funding and they don't want to lend, they don't want to lend to somebody who looks like they're desperately looking for funding and they're looking anywhere to get it. So we want to remove those inquiries. And then after that, once those inquiries are removed, then we'll go ahead and hit the second round of applications with other institutions. And that's basically how we do multiple rounds when it comes to funding. Okay. And then so that is where the next section comes in, the next bullet point, which is application sequencing. So we'll hit a bunch of banks the first round. Then after that, we'll clear all the inquiries. Then we'll hit the second round. Okay. Then we'll hit the inquiries and get those removed. Then we'll hit a third round. And then obviously if everything is still in alignment, then we'll go ahead and get more. Sometimes people want to cap out a certain number, and sometimes some of our clients just want to get as much as they possibly can, which is completely okay. It just helps you to have, gives you more leverage to be able to build your business faster because you have more capital overall. So for credit limit maximization strategies, so the other thing is, so we hit certain banks that are usually have higher limits than others. For example, this could also be with banks that you've already banked with for a very long time. So for example, if you've banked with, for example, Wells Fargo, right? For 5-10 years. Okay, they already kind of know you. You already built a relationship with them. They already know what goes in and out of your bank account. So they are more inclined to give you approval for a certain amount of money because they already kind of know how you work. So sometimes having multiple bank accounts with different banks, this will help your approval rate because you already have a relationship with them and they already kind of know how you operate and see kind of the money that's going in and out. Okay. The other thing is the balance transfer opportunities. So you can also balance transfer certain cards. For example, if you have 2 Chase cards, you can actually, if you want to do one big purchase, say you have a Chase card, one is $15,000, the other one $25,000, you can actually transfer the balance over. If you want to move 10 to the other card, then you can have $35,000 total in one card, so that we can go ahead and make a big purchase like a truck or a technician, things like that. So that's another way that you can leverage these credit cards as far as balance transfers. Okay. And then also the rewards program optimization for HVAC expenses. So the biggest thing that's so great about having these types of credit cards is that when you're using these credit cards to pay for technicians, trucks, bills, any type of units, things like that, marketing, all those things, you're building up points or cash back, right? And so why that's really important is because you're basically going to spend the money anyways. So by using these cards, you're going to be able to have free flight points. You'll be able to have get cash back from all the money that you spend. So all those different things can be really, really awesome. Personally, for me, like I basically fly around for free because I have so many points that come in when I spend money on ads and on other business expenses. So when I spend money, I basically get so many points and I can go ahead and fly around for free, which is pretty awesome perk that you can have. and it's something that you'll really enjoy, as you kind of get into the credit game overall. Okay, so basically moving on. So the strategic funding combination. So first of all, optimal funding sequence. Then the credit impact management, and then payment schedule coordination, and then long-term funding roadmap development. So basically what we do and what this means. So the optimal funding sequence is basically we want to make sure that we hit the right sequence for your specific profile. Then after that, we want to make sure that your credit at the end of it is all still looking good. High credit scores, the inquiries are taken off. And then we also want to make sure that your payments are in alignment. So when you start to spend money on your business, that you know when those payment dates are coming, when to pay them off, when to lower the amount that you have on your card, things like that. And then we also want to make sure that long term, that your funding roadmap is looking good over the next like 90 days. Okay. So, and then here's a breakdown of basically the strategic credit bureau approach. So to kind of break this down, I know this is a lot of information. So the first thing is there's three main credit bureaus when it comes to personal credit. So you have TransUnion, you have Equifax, and then you have Experian. So our strategy application sequence. So basically how our strategy sequence works is we apply to specific banks on which credit bureaus only pull from certain bureaus. Okay. So example, so we pull, let's say we apply for Bank A, right? And that business pulls Equifax. So basically they'll pull an Equifax, right? And this is this is when we do this all in one round. Okay. Then we go to Bank B, right? Which we send an application in for Bank B, and they pull from Experian. Okay. And then we do Bank C, and they pull from TransUnion. So basically you send in three applications, one with each bureau. Okay. And you, with all of the right things in a line, you should get approved, which means you just got approved for three different cards, and you only have one inquiry on your credit report for each one of those bureaus. Okay, so doing this and doing this in the right sequence is what makes us so successful at this. Okay, so the next step of after you've done that first funding round, okay, is managing inquiries. Okay, so you want to multiply, basically the multiple inquiries can signal desperate funding. And we want to make sure that as soon as we apply for all of these cards, we remove the inquiries before we do the second round. Okay. And that's where we basically implement the credit sweeps after each application round. Okay. And then that basically prevents your credit report from showing multiple applications simultaneously, which we don't want the banks to see, because if they see you're looking for funding, then they'll want to deny you because, they don't want to look for somebody who's just desperately looking for funding. Okay. So having the right qualifications is part of the process. Okay, so applying to banks in the wrong order can actually trigger unnecessary denials. So our data-driven approach maximizes approval odds. So what does this mean exactly? So basically what we've done specifically for all of our clients is that we know the exact process on what we should do as far as getting funding and which banks we should hit in what order. Because if you end up hitting you could hit the right banks, but you may hit them in the wrong order. And if you hit them in the wrong order, then you could definitely get denied. And overall, then you've just wasted an inquiry on your report. And then you also got denied, and basically, you won't be able to reapply for a long time unless you start reaching out to a relationship manager and ask them for, basically a reconsideration. And we can talk about that in another video. But so you want to make sure that you have a strategy when you're going into applying for actual applications, and make sure you hit the right banks in the right order. Make sure that they're pulling from certain bureaus. And then also, that's the biggest thing overall. And that's why we collect data points with all of our clients. And we basically track all of where the inquiries that are pulled and what the approvals come from and why they don't, and why some people may get denied versus others. Okay, so that's a lot of things that we track on our end. So that's why when you work with us, we basically work with you until you get funded. That's basically what our guarantee is. So when you come and work with us, we basically go through the entire process with you, making sure that your credit profile set up, your business profile set up correctly. And then we also go through all the funding process, and we take you through exactly what you'll need to go ahead and get approved. Okay. And basically, obviously, like I said, the data points guide success. So we maintain all of the data points that come through all the bureaus, make sure that this bank pulls from these bureaus, or this bank pulls from these bureaus, and then we basically go through the entire list of which banks pull from where, and then basically align those in which banks we should hit overall. The other thing is, so I'm going to go ahead and leave this down below in the description. So we actually have a free fast funding guide that you can go ahead and use for yourself. There's a lot of information in there, and it'd be very, very helpful for you to go through. It's a Notion document that you'll be able to basically read through, and it'll take you through step by step. Pretty much all the information that you need to know about funding. And there's also some really good application sequences in there that you can use for yourself as well. Okay. So the other thing is the HVAC specific funding uses. So like I was saying before, we want to make sure that we're using the money that we get after funding for the correct things. So obviously, if we need equipment, we want to make sure that we're purchasing the right vehicle, and making sure that we're getting good models and things like that, and make sure we're getting a good price. You don't necessarily always have to buy new, but I do recommend 1 or 2 years of buying a certain vehicle that obviously you get a good price, but also is a good vehicle overall. The other thing is inventory, supply chain. So making sure that your inventory is up to date. You have the right suppliers. Making sure that as you start to scale, that you have the right things in the line as far as inventory. And the other thing is the marketing and acquisition. So making sure that you're always putting a little bit of money towards marketing, so that way you can grow and scale your business overall. So HVAC is definitely a company that you can scale monumentally. I've seen many clients do it, so it's something that's super important. So make sure that you do spend a little bit of money on marketing. And then the other thing is the business operation enhancement. So obviously, hiring and training, things like that. Being able to expand, to other technicians and things like that is also super important. Just make sure that overall, the most important thing to know is that you want to put the money where it's most useful. Okay, so if you have inventory issues, then you want to make sure that you find the right suppliers and get the right inventory in the door. If you don't have enough clients, then you need to basically put more money into marketing, so that way you can grow and scale your business that way to get more clients in the door. If you need more technicians or trucks, obviously you just go purchase those as far as trucks, and then making sure that you're hiring the right technicians when it comes to being able to expand your employee base within your company. And then going into some of the success stories. So basically, we had a residential HVAC contractor case study here. So basically, the initial situation was they were doing about $350,000 in revenue. They were having some credit challenges. So what we did, we helped them get some of their credit repaired, and then we helped them form their LLC correctly. Then after that, they actually obtained $127,000 in 0% financing. 0% credit cards, in other words. So, and then basically the result from that was they had 87% revenue increases, which they were able to increase their fleet. So they actually bought 2 more trucks with this revenue and hired 2 more technicians as well, which has helped them expand their business pretty much almost double within a couple months. So it's pretty incredible what you can do when you have the access to the capital, kind of going for you. And then the next one, so we had a commercial HVAC enterprise case study. So basically, this company was doing $1.2 million in revenue. So they were having some growth limitations. And so we basically put a custom strategy together. So we helped them do debt reconstruction, and then help them credit enhancement. So help them build the little things that they had left on their credit. And then basically when we implemented all of that, we got them $228,000 of funding overall through their entire sequences, and basically they were able to use that for their business. And so basically 67% of the project capacity increase year-round operations. So that way they were able to increase by 67%, which is phenomenal within only a couple months. So the biggest thing is that they were focusing on was making sure that the average funding amounts were secured, which we helped them with. Typical implementation timeline. So we told them exactly when they were going to get the funding and what the timeline it was. And then revenue growth percentages. So basically that was once they implemented all of these strategies as far as the funding into their business, that's when the results came overall. Okay. So as far as the application process, so basically the step-by-step journey. So basically initial consultational assessment, that's what we do for you. The custom strategy development. So we basically put a custom strategy together just for you based on the relationship that you have with certain banks, as well as other banks that you may not have relationships with that will help you gain relationships with, so that way you can get approvals when you go and apply. And then basically application submission and tracking, and then the funding deployment and utilization. Okay. Next thing is we want to make sure that your documentation is in order. So we'll have all the essential documents, your preparation guidelines, we'll do checklists, things like that. And then also submission protocols that we do on our end actually for you. Okay. So the timeline expectation, so preparation phase usually takes, it takes about 30 to 90 days, depending on what your credit looks like. So if you have 1 to 3 items, it may take a couple weeks to get those off. And then as soon as those are taken off, then we can go ahead and apply for funding. So the application process takes about 15 to 30 days for the first round. And then funding deployment, so 7 to 14 days. And then the total process usually takes between 14 and 90 days. So if your credit's already good and everything's perfectly in line and your credit score is good, your business is set up correctly, we can go and apply immediately. And basically you can get up to $50,000 or more within the first 2 weeks. Okay. So it just depends a lot of what your credit report looks like now. If there's a couple things that we need to take off first, then we'll go ahead and take those off. And then after that, we'll apply. And those can range. Sometimes it can take up to 3 days, maybe sometimes 60. It really just depends on kind of what we're trying to take off and how fast we can get it off. So after that, then we can go ahead and go through the funding rounds. But overall, after we go through multiple rounds, it usually takes about 90 days. So we usually tell people between 2 weeks and 90 days to go ahead and get funding. So basically, the next step is you can actually click the link down below, and then we'll go ahead and you can set up a call with us, and we'll show you basically all the next steps of what you'll need to do to actually go ahead and work with us if you want to work with us. And basically what we do is we help HVAC companies get funding for their business, whether they're trying to start a new business or they're trying to branch out on their own, or they're trying to expand their current business. We also help other home service-based businesses as well. So you can go ahead and click the link down below. And then we'll hop on a call with you and we'll put a specific strategy together for you and show you exactly how we can get you funding for your business. And that is it. Overall, I want to thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you really, really enjoyed it. I hope there was enough information in here to get you guys to really understand how this process goes and how it can really, really change your business. One more thing also, if you can go ahead and like and subscribe and that bell notification, that would be great. I'm going to go ahead and put more videos out here so that way you guys can get as much value as possible. So again, this is Giovanni Lugo with Stallion Capital, and signing off, and I'll see you guys in this video.